A deep rift has opened up in a nation once revered as the epitome of freedom. A country whose foundations were built on dreams, innovation, and limitless possibilities. However, over the years, the cracks began to surface. From the aftermath of the Civil War to the struggles of the Great Depression, America has faced countless trials and each time emerged stronger and more resilient. But now a new battle rages within its borders. Together we stood, but apart we fall. The fabric of unity has been torn apart, torn by the unrelenting winds of discord, polarization, and ideological warfare. Once economic power, the country today struggles with huge inequality and a disappearing middle class. Wealth disparities are widening as dreams of wealth fade into oblivion. The country that once shone with breathtaking landscapes now bears the scars of environmental neglect. The halls of power, once a beacon of hope, now echo with whispers of corruption and greed. The voice of the people was lost in a sea of corporate influence, leaving democracy battered and wounded. This is America in 2023. Let's find out why America changed forever. Why the nation faces the perfect storm, one that could destroy the nation from within. Let's talk about the death of an empire. And welcome to Dark New World. Left versus right. Most people would agree with me when I say that America today is split in half. The United States is divided between the left and the right due to a variety of factors. Over time, the middle ground has seemingly disappeared, and both sides have become increasingly radicalized. Historically, the political landscape in the United States has witnessed a gradual shift in ideologies and priorities. This shift has been influenced by socio-economic changes, cultural transformations, and significant events like wars, economic recessions, and social movements. As a result, political parties and their supporters have become more polarized. For most people, America would look like this. But the disappearance of the middle ground can be attributed to several reasons. The advent of cable news and the rise of social media have created echo chambers, where individuals are exposed to content that aligns with their existing beliefs. The increased influence of interest groups and money in politics has fueled polarization. Special interest groups, aligned with either the left or the right, exert significant pressure on politicians to adhere to their specific agendas. This pressure makes it challenging for politicians to compromise and find middle ground solutions. And these factors lead to secondary divisions in society, which makes the situation a bit more complicated. So instead of this, America actually looks more like this. To make it simple, society in the United States of America doesn't exist anymore. Not as a whole. It's a fractured, distorted, and broken mirror, unable to function as a whole. And this is what makes it so dangerous. More than 2/5 of Americans believe civil war is at least somewhat likely in the next 10 years, according to a new survey. It is not a silly thought. It is not a fantasy. Every red flag you could possibly imagine when it comes to a cracking society can be found in everyday life in the US now. The US at the moment is more left-leaning. Government institutions, big companies, basically everyone is supporting a liberal worldview. And its trend is increasing in intensity, and it all began decades ago with the civil rights movement. The US, until the 70s, was a very conservative country compared to the rest of the world. The whole point of the United States was to create a place for people with faith, those who felt pushed out of society when the Renaissance hit Europe. And there was never a perfect balance in the US, and if there is one, it's only for a brief period of time. From racial segregation to extreme liberal worldviews that gets pushed into everyday life from everywhere. Companies, sports, government agencies. It is everywhere. You cannot escape it. This lack of a delicate balance is what pushed many into extreme counterpositions. And the number of people opposing this current system is growing fast. It is important to recognize that political power in the United States often experiences a pendulum effect. When one side gains ascendancy and implements policies that some perceive as favoring a particular ideology, like right now, it can provoke a backlash from those who hold opposing views. This pattern has historically led to a cyclical nature of political power, with periods of left-leaning governance often followed by a right-wing backlash. This backlash can manifest in various forms, such as increased support for conservative candidates, a resurgence of right-wing movements, or a shift in policy priorities towards conservative ideals. But this time, the United States took it to the extreme. So if the pendulum swings, it will get ugly. The right-wing backlash. Both the left and the right in the US are so far removed from reality that it is outright scary to contemplate the consequences if a far-right backlash were to occur. Both sides remain entrenched in their ideologies, unable to make any compromises or find common ground. Many people point fingers at Islam, claiming that the Muslim community is solely driven by ideology, their everyday thought entrenched in black and white thinking. However, here's a shocker. Most people in the West aren't much different. In fact, we can be quite dangerous because we think that we are free from ideological influence. Instead of openly acknowledging that we follow a specific set of rules like Muslims do, we convince ourselves that our behavior is unaffected by external factors. Moreover, in the US there are two competing ideologies that are growing increasingly extreme with each passing day. Left-wing ideology is pervasive, present in supermarkets, movies, and all aspects of life, alienating some individuals who feel disconnected from it. The all-encompassing nature of politics has turned into a grave situation. There is no longer a realm outside of politics where one can simply be human. Every action we take, from choosing between a car or a bus to selecting a plastic-free toothbrush, has a political background. Coupled with the constant bombardment of social media posts, this creates a recipe for disaster. In this environment, the far right emerges as the opposition. As politics permeates every aspect of life and becomes more extreme, it allows the far right to grow continuously. And these are just the direct factors leading people towards far-right ideologies. The traditional family no longer exists in the West, and for many alienated individuals, their way of life feels threatened. Given that politics is omnipresent, it is inevitable that there will be a far-right backlash someday. Young males, in particular, are increasingly drawn to right-leaning organizations and ideologies. Eventually, a crisis will trigger a firestorm. The problem is that I fear the response to left-wing liberalism will be far-right extremism. And I mean as extreme as it can get. History has shown us that this is not unprecedented, and it would be naive to think that we are immune from repeating it. This is not solely a problem in the US, it's happening worldwide. Authoritarianism is on the rise globally, and Europe is currently facing a similar issue, albeit to a lesser extent. The trend is observable, and the 21st century is shaping to be dominated by authoritarianism. This trajectory will lead to catastrophe, impacting the future of US society. The solutions may seem simple on paper. Both sides need to engage in dialogue and retreat from everyday life, creating space that is free from politics. However, in the digital age, with social media, smartphones, and the modern world's negative changes, reversing these effects is nearly impossible. The media won't change because the system we have doesn't allow it, and removing politics from everyday life will be self-destructive. There seems to be only one path forward, towards more extreme and fortified ideological positions. And most of my views are from the US. I would like to hear your thoughts on these issues. What do you consider the biggest problem, and how would you propose fixing it? Let's initiate a healthy conversation in the comment section. Now, let's return to the major problems in the world. We are facing a severe fertilizer shortage, and famine poses a real danger in many regions. This video will provide an explanation of the current situation. And on the right side, I discuss the reluctance of the rich and powerful to address climate change. My name is Dennis. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.